Y'all ping your people. Ping your fellow peers, because this is a conversation, personally, in my opinion, if you live in any kind of decent size actor market. Maybe not a tiny market as much. I still think it matters. But if you're in a tiny market globally, anywhere, this would be a little different. Because in tinier markets, tinier cities, a lot of folks are probably a little more focused as performers because of doing live theater. But the conversation of pursue versus accept is one that if you're in any medium size or large market as an actor, comes into real play. Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, boom. Welcome to IG Live with me. That's the Kevin E. Kevin E. West, veteran television actor and founder, of course, of the award-winning business organization, the Actors Network. We are here today for the IG Live that I call The Actor Overcomes. And you guys, today's subject is pursue versus accept. And as it is common for me and the years of just sort of slowly inventing over nearly 2.5 decades kind of a curriculum, business curriculum for performers. What's up, Jose? I have, over the course of time, arrived at having a lot of the subject matter that I cover we would define as either conceptual, philosophical, psychological, because that's a huge part of our profession. But also, there's a lot of philosophy and psychology, even within something that is more tactile, more tangible. And obviously, when I use the word pursue, I'm talking about stuff that's tangible. Pursue's not something that you do in your mind. However, our minds constantly are in this interesting state that I've found with my fellow peers of completely at a loss of words for what to do or what to do next, mixed in with, holy shit, I'm completely overwhelmed. Woodman's in the house. Woodman played Riviera yesterday. That's why I got a little sun on the face. Good times. Couldn't hit a good second shot, but it was good times. So the first thing I want you guys, number one, to note about pursue versus accept is the absolute sheer volume of this profession. And that's really important. Why? Because now, even more so than ever before, digital technology in its current state, not what it was 20 years ago when we turned the century, not what it was 10 years ago, not at all, not at all. What it is today. However, Woodman, I did sink about a 17-footer for par on the hardest hole in the course, number 2. So that was important after a 30-yard bunker shot. I like to mix in stuff about golf as I'm going through this. So, hey, Paul, good to see you, man. So that we have to start with the fact that we all have to admit as actors, number one, the sheer volume of projects that are available to us, especially because of digital technology. Think about it, man. When you live in Nashville or you live in Atlanta, you now basically in your mind appear or feel available for projects, depending on if you have places where you can actually be a local hire in New York, or actually drive to Nashville from Atlanta, or vice versa, or drive, even over to Louisiana or Baton Rouge. We have to understand, guys, that, and it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's nobody's fault. But the sheer volume, first thing about pursue versus accept, which is not even the point, but to accept the fact that the sheer volume of this profession weighs on us in a very difficult way. That's important to note because, funny enough, that is all up here in our head. It doesn't have anything to do with pursuing the profession, which is why in my book, right there over my shoulder, 7 Deadly Sins, The Actor Overcomes, I have an entire chapter and have been talking about it for nearly 30 years. Hey, Michael, with regards to the concept of areas of industry. And the reason I had to do that years ago is because as a performer, we just see performing. We don't see anything else. We're just like, bro, it doesn't matter if it's an industrial or a commercial, or I'm hosting a game show, or I'm doing some live stage or a one-person show, or it's a modified low-budget film or a studio feature film, or it's a television. We just see performing. And that's what allows our minds to take everything in of every kind of job, and we all know the skill set isn't the same. It's not. If it was, we wouldn't have acting class and we wouldn't have improv. Okay? So just by that definition, using show of show business to go, there's separation. There's a difference in skill sets, y'all. And so just the sheer volume and the 49 or 50, what I call areas of industry, you could make a living at it, just one, because someone does, at just one of those as a performer. This is the reason why I came up with today's subject, pursue versus accept. And it's an incredibly important distinction. And right now, get that pencil out. Whoa, wait a minute, shit, where did my pencil go? Whoo, hang on. Holy crap balls, when I cut my hair, the pencil doesn't stay in as well. Get your pencil out, because this is important, okay? Because when you stop and think, now I know, I'm with everybody here, we're all on the same page, we all want what we consider to be, especially since we're doing this for money, right? We want opportunities, auditions, that's all it is, job interviews, at the legit paying stuff. Whatever you want to call legit paying stuff to you, that's cool. But what it typically is anything that actually would be not necessarily a non-union buyout, even if you're non-union, because even as a non-union person, especially in a right-to-work state, you still have the right and the ability to be called in and shoot and book and do union work. But that's the stuff that's the best paid, right? Because buyouts eventually over the course of time, if you're in a non-union place, the buyout, when you extrapolate time 10 years later, what you got paid up front really is nothing. So residuals is the entire concept of being well paid. So I know we all want more shots at legitimate stuff. But when you think of all the legitimate stuff, the projects and jobs and roles that are available on the breakdowns that most people don't get unless you have a service, plus all of the ones that are on all of the casting sites, whether it's Casting Networks, Casting Frontier, Breakdown Services, Actor Access, or eTalenta in Europe, it doesn't make any difference. You think about all that stuff. Everybody just take a moment. Just pause for a moment and think, holy shitballs. How much stuff is that every single day that Kevin, me, is always talking to you about trying to pursue? Just stop for a second and think about that. Number one, sheer volume. Number two, all the areas of industry. Number three, the legitimate jobs, scale and above, and all of the other stuff going on in nearly 50 different aspects, areas of industry of performance, professional career pursuit. Just let that sit for a moment. Can you feel the weight? I feel like now I'm doing George Clooney and Up in the Air. Can you feel the backpack and how full it is? Yeah. Guys, that gets full. It gets really full, and it gets really fast. And if Brett's still here, in terms of being a representative, what happens with us is we are told when we're young or old, doesn't matter, the general mantra we both know in this industry is, oh, you get an agent or a manager, get a representative, right? They'll take care of it for you. That's their job, right? That's their job. They're going to be able to filter, process, and do all of the representation for every single one of those areas of industry all the time, every day, for everything, all the time. Don't worry about it. And that's what we get told. And so what happens to us? It's natural. When that doesn't happen, and we all, small market, medium market, huge market, doesn't matter, here, United States, Paris, Tokyo, Australia, makes no difference. We all have actor friends, man. We go to class. Outside of, again, a pandemic, I'm not doing any of my principles and philosophy based on 2 years of an abyss with a pandemic. I'm not doing it. We go out places, we socialize, we talk. We have social media. Oh, so-and-so booked that, so-and-so booked that, so-and-so. Holy shit, there's always stuff going on and we know about it going on. And what happens when we get home and we're sitting at home by ourselves and we're not going, you're like, what about me? Like, yeah, that's natural for us. But inherently, this is the problemo, y'all. The problemo is that's what happens in our mind. You're like, wait a minute. I heard about blah. I heard about John. Billy's doing that. Sarah's doing that. Jimmy's doing that. How come I'm not doing that? And so we get frustrated at our representatives. We start pointing fingers. We start playing the woe is me victim game. I totally get it. Don't ever forget, guys, I am always on your side. Always. But that's the number 4. The number 4 is that we then get frustrated with our representatives. So then you're like, okay, that's cool. I know this guy, Kevin E., or I saw this guy on a live once, or I went to the YouTube channel, and I found this guy, Kevin E. West, and he said do blah, 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 and a thing and a whoop-de-doo. And that's about 125 hours of blah, blah, and a thing and a whoop-de-doo. And so then you're like, fine, I'm going to go out and pursue my career. And because of what I said in the first 2, we get overwhelmed in about 9 seconds. We just do. And this is part of what this is literally the baseline, the foundation for today's conversation. You can't. But then you say to yourself, well, Kevin, how am I supposed to not get overwhelmed? Hence the title, y'all. And the name of the show is The Actor Overcomes, right? This is how you don't get overwhelmed. You have to begin to see the glaring professional pursuit of an actor's life in 2 ways. Pursue versus accept. That's what you have to do. People would come into the Actors Network, and we have a couple of the former members that are here today. And within 3 months, folks would be coming up to me going, this is all great, man, but my mind is full. I'm losing my mind. It's like, yeah. So I used to say to people, one of the easiest solutions was to stop, sit down, and think. What aspects of this industry do I really want to pursue? Versus, I'll say it a different way, be happy to get an audition for. That's just too long. Exactly, my man Wood. My acting coach, you see, that's the whole point about golf and everything else. My acting coach was, concern yourself with the effort, the result will take care of itself. And it is less depression. And guys, this is coming from a man who's not even an actor. He's up in Oregon. Awesome dude, my man Woodburn, Woodman. So this is the difference. It's just willing to accept an audition is too long of a title for an IG Live. That's why it's pursue versus accept. And what I want to share with you is, 5th point about this conversation is start right now. Right now. Don't care how long you've been doing this. Most of the people here are longtime veterans. Start right now. Realize all of the different aspects just of television. You could be a meteorologist, union job. You could be a game show host, union job. You could be a broadcaster, sometimes union job. You could do daytime television. You could do night prime time. You could half hour. There's all kinds of elements just to television. But stop and just think to yourself, okay, which one do I really want to pursue versus happy to say yes for an audition if the process, as I call it, meaning your representative, gets you an appointment. You're not going to say no to that, y'all. But just because you would say yes to an audition doesn't mean that you try to also then put all of the yeses to anything that would come your way. You don't try to put those into your calendar to pursue them all. This is my point. I did every single daytime television show based in Los Angeles, except Days of Our Lives. It's completely fine. I have no idea who I pissed off over there, but I never did Days of Our Lives. But I didn't pursue daytime television. Daytime television, just like you, found me through the representative process. And I went as we do, to an audition, aka job interview, and I booked a job, and then I booked another one, and then I booked another one, just like you. The difference is that I never had in my calendar way back in the day, Franklin Planner, by the way, way back in the day, I didn't have send postcard to, go knock on door of. I didn't have some of the common pursuit efforts you hear me talk about towards that specific area of industry, daytime television, aka soap operas. That didn't mean that I wasn't willing to accept an audition for it. Holy crap, it's a professional job. Of course I would. But that's the difference, y'all. The difference is if you want to keep yourself from ever being overwhelmed by this industry, coupled with commonly overwhelmingly frustrated by what your representative isn't freaking doing, normal, common, I've had 46 of them, then what you got to do, y'all, is you have to start going, okay, what am I willing to pursue, knowing that I'm willing to accept almost anything. Now, I say almost because I always have to do this, you guys. I understand the people that are here in this live, but you have to understand that people all over the world are going to see this. I don't know where someone's at in their career, and I don't know where someone's at in their marketplace. So there are places in this world where you would be an actor where you would be willing to pursue everything available there and be willing to do everything available there. Full stop. That's there. It's up here. Okay? And then there's places where, as you grow in your career, you start chopping stuff off. You start editing stuff out. Because I did 14 student films when I first came to Los Angeles. I'm not doing them anymore. That's like people get bothered all the time by just the natural evolution, the natural phasing out of things. You know, we don't have horses and buggies anymore except for some sort of novelty thing to do through Manhattan or in Vienna, Austria. They do that as well. So things phase out. Things become obsolete to you in your career. It's totally fine. But that's the whole point of pursue versus accept. There are things that I will accept. I'm just not going to spend my time pursuing. That's all. It's not a lesser than or better than. It's your choice. But I'm just sharing with you that if you sit around in your mind, especially in a larger market, and you try to live in the place of, I'm going to try and pursue it all just because it exists. Just because it exists does not mean that you have the time, effort, energy, money, or as I always say, emotional, psychological, personal fuel tank to pursue it all. I'm sharing with you, and I'm not a guy who uses the word can't a lot. I'm sharing with you, can't do it. The profession is too large. This is why I want you to stop after today, forevermore. Send people to watch this because in some ways, I don't want to start crying, but in some ways, this video, this live, right here today, 3/23/22, I have been asked 1,000 times in my life, not a joke. I've been asked 1,000 times, why did I start the Actors Network? And I have some different answers for why I started it, but that wasn't the answer. Here we go, Peggy, with regards to marriage. It's not why I started the Actors Network. It's why at the time I continued it. It's not about why you decided to get married. It's why you choose to stay married. It's not about you choosing to be an actor and want to pursue this for money. It's about why you choose to continue to do such. Life is a partial information game. Acting is a partial information career. Hello, by 1,000,000,000%. And so since we in this chair as performers are not ever going to get, ever, the full story on everything, and we're not going to have the time to do the full story, even if you had millions of dollars. And you didn't have to go to do a job where I'm still sharing with you in a city like Los Angeles or New York, Chicago, London. You don't have time to pursue personally the way I define pursue. You don't have time to do it for every element of the industry. You just don't. It's not plausible, y'all. So do this. And I had a manager, and I'll reference him from time to time. Do this. He used to always say, you got to have a representative who thinks of you in terms of being enthusiastic to represent you. Like a dog with a bone, right? So I know in my heart of hearts, I know I'm willing to do all sorts of stuff as a performer because it's fun, because I love it. I'm willing to accept all sorts of auditions in all sorts of things. Yeah, I just emceed an event yesterday. Do you think it would really bother me to go, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WKBI and a show? I'm happy to go host something. Welcome to the game show, everyone. Blah, blah, blah. The thing to win. We got contestant number 1 and contestant number 2. I have no problem with that skill set. If you want to call me in and give me an audition for it, happy to, just like you would be. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to try to put into my calendar doing IMDb research, or IMDb Pro research, or Google search, or anything else on all of the game shows going on and all of the networks and all the production companies who do the game shows. By the way, all this stuff's completely available to you if this is what you want to do. I will accept that. I'm not going to pursue it. That's a difference. That is the whole. So you have to come up with, and I mean this, guys, 1, 2, max 3, max 3, and 3's probably going to have to take. 3 will probably have to be in the back seat. You got the driver thing you're going to pursue. You got the passenger thing you're going to pursue. I just made up this analogy. And then you got the pursuit in the back seat. And that's what you got. More than 3 in a big city, whoo! Better have a lot of time on your hands. But I know what jazzes me. I just literally, last night, late, got an audition, series regular, comedy, half hour, hysterical. I'm totally jazzed. My point about that is, I'd be jazzed about any audition that I'm going to accept. The question is, do you feel the extra jazz? The ooh, that's not about the money or the stardom, but the material. Now that's when I drop over into the show, about the opportunity to do that work. Oh, okay, nice. I'd love doing that character that I just read last night on these sides. I'd love doing that character for the next 3 years. Hysterical. Awesome. That's what I mean. What causes you to have a metaphorical bone in the mouth like a dog who just wants you to throw the ball and go crazy? That's how you got to view pursuing aspects, areas of industry of this profession. That's why I say all the time, there's need to, there's have to, and there's want to. I've already covered that in an IG Live. Go back and watch them. Okay? But when you are like this, not in a bad way, in a good way, not like making yourself a mental case over something. I don't turn an audition into an event. I'm just talking about the word passion and the word enthusiasm. That's what I mean. You got to make sure you keep your pursuit limited to what you are most, the area of industry that you are most enthusiastic about. The driver of the car, maybe one in the passenger seat, maybe one in the background that's in the back seat. 3 is a lot. I'm just telling you now. Because if you were just to take primetime television and commercials and then, throw in the back seat voiceover, which would be a tough back seat in a major market because it's such a niche specialty, that's a lot to pursue every week, you guys. That's a lot to schedule if you're going to do it right. As you listen to these IG Lives that I do, you guys, you're going to start realizing that the actual pursuit of what I mean by pursuing versus setup, the very first, remember, this was the very first IG Live I did. Pursue, setup versus pursue. That's the first one. Go back and watch that and then watch this one. Pursue versus accept. Those two bookend the first 19 IG Lives that I've done. Go back and look at them. So from this point forward, sit down, Get in a quiet place. Send people out of the room. Merrick, get Peggy out of the room. Sit down and go, I have this whole landscape, whole pile of things that I can go on, audition for, and book and work and make money at as a performer. But which one or two do I want to actually take my own time with no guarantee of returns? This is not a time and money out business. No necessary return on investment. And I want to go spend time researching, game planning, strategizing, there you go, strategizing to pursue. And if you do that, and here's the hard part, that's why you guys will see an IG Live called Actor Noise. Go back and watch Actor Noise. If you just watch those three, the first one, Setup versus Pursuit, Actor Noise, and this, whoo, and you can do all three of those things, how much clearer your mind and heart and soul will be if you can actually discipline yourself enough to really implement those three into your daily life and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing or what you think you should be doing that you aren't. Do what the core of your soul tells you to do in terms of pursuit, and let the rest be stuff that when it comes your way, yay team, accept it, go kick ass, and if you book a job, awesome, just like I did in daytime television. I wound up recurring on a show for 9 months, but I didn't pursue it. I just went and read for it when I got the opportunity. That's all. Not a mystery, not anything that's a big deal. I'm going to continue, I will always continue, you guys, to try and minimize the nature of our emotion. Anybody who knows me knows, and I idle pretty high. I kind of don't really have the personality for golf, but that's a different subject. But you have to minimize the emotion of the old song from Chorus Line. God, I hope I get it. That has to get tempered at some point, or it makes it very, very hard for you to stay positive about this profession. And the one thing that I personally feel is necessary about the business of show business is that it cannot be something that's a drain. It can't constantly be something that's a black cloud. It can't constantly be a negative, and it can't constantly be something that you feel oppressed by. Because if you do, you will in general, with anything in life, this is the whole point about marriage, right, Peggy? That anything, you're going to eventually want to walk away. And what I found is most actors never walk away. They just sort of rack focus into the background of their own career and disappear. And that's what you don't want. So make sure you're crystal clear on what you want to pursue versus all of the work you're willing to accept if you book it. That brings us, y'all, to the end of this IG Live, Pursue versus Accept. Thanks, y'all, for being here. Please send your people over to the YouTube channel, The Kevin E. Have them subscribe. Lots more coming there. We're building that slowly but surely, and I will see y'all real soon. Since I'm not here on Friday, have an awesome freaking weekend and rest of y'all's week. Thanks for being here. Peace out.